What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into every officially released Grateful Dead show, currently in 1990. Today I'm going to talk about, not play music from, and then rank among the other 90 era or 90 year releases that I've done. Dozin at the Knick. This came out way back in 1996 before they were just releasing complete shows like crazy. So this is one of those releases that's curated from 3 shows in Albany, New York, at the Knickerbocker Arena, I think is the full name for it, in March of 1990, March 24th, March 25th, March 26th. And so choices were made. They took the 3 set lists, they handpicked what they wanted released from them, and they compiled a 3-disc set that mimics a complete show. Disc 1 is all first set stuff, quite a bit of it from I think most of it's from the 26th, couple songs from the 25th, 1 song from the 24th. Disc 2 is almost the entire, it's the second set of, I think, one of the shows. And then disc 3 is post space of that disc 2 plus post space from another show. So the 3-disc experience feels like a complete show. It's just put together from 3 separate shows. Ultimately, at this point in time, every single song from these shows has been released. We have the Spring 90. There were 3 releases called Spring 1990. Without a Net had a song. We have this release. So we have all of those. It's just this is sort of what the Grateful Dead kind of considered were the highlights of this run back in 96. This is the year I saw far more Grateful Dead than any other year. They played the West Coast a whole bunch. I was going to school out in Northern California, did summer tour, wrote a book about it, did Europe tour. So I saw way too many shows. So this is like comfort food for me. This is the sound I am most familiar with seeing live. This is when there's a couple songs on here where it's a weird sound back in 90s. You have all the MIDI sounds. You have so much going on with Brent's keys. You have just this huge wall of sound that was presented. And for some of these songs, like the Dupree's Diamond Blues, there's a Dupree's Diamonds on here. All those weird little electronic textures work. Other times it's just like, man, I like the simplicity of the 70s. But the sound of the Dead in the 90s doesn't bother me because it is the thing I saw more than any other. So anyways, what do we have in here? Disc 1 is all songs from the first set. It represents all 3 shows. And we have a distinct pattern. Bob, Jerry, Brent, Bob, Jerry, Brent, Bob, Jerry, Brent. They each get 3 songs in that order, like it was a real first set. I'm going to break that up into 3 parts and see who wins Disc 1. The first 3 songs. Bob gets a Hell in a Bucket. I think your enjoyment of this is how much you enjoy Hell in a Bucket. It's a really good version. It's a fun opener, very representative of what the 90s was like. Yeah, I think it works. Jerry then drops to Dupree's Diamond Blues. Yeah, great choice. Brent's sounds are a little like, but I think the overall there's a carnival aspect to all the weird MIDI sounds and just the synth sounds and the sound of the band in this era that works really, really well with this song. Jerry's wah solo is super tasty in the middle. Great version of this. And then Brent's song is just a little light, which is not that bad of a song. Like back in the day, I don't think I was too excited about MYDLAND songs. It's the new batch, but I kind of like this song. There's a potential for a Cassidy style jam at the end that they just don't follow through on. Instead, they let Brent just kind of go off vocally. They had dropped like a Cassidy style jam at the end of this, when it starts to get a little spacey, I think that would have elevated the song to like a little more like, oh, they played it just a little light. Brent's voice is amazing. The Michael McDonald-ness of it all is fantastic. But in this first run, solid entries from all 3, but Jerry wins round 1 with that Dupree's Diamonds, I would say, hands down. Round 2 is rough for me. Walkin' Blues, probably one of my least favorite things the Dead do. I just never enjoyed it. The organ playing is nice. Bob goes off vocally. It's a solid performance of Walkin' Blues. But this is a song I got tired of really quickly back in the day. Jack-A-Row is next. Walkin' Blues, Jack-A-Row seemed like a really common pairing. Heard way too many Jack-A-Rows. Like those 78 versions are fantastic. By the time we get to like the 90s, Jerry's just kind of phoning it in a lot, but I do like Jackaro. And then Never Trust a Woman, Good Times Blues, a Brent Blues song. Never trust a woman who wears her pants too tight. Never ever liked the song. I just don't like it. Jerry's got a good solo. The organ work is nice. It's a blues song. Another one of mine, another Dead song that I just never look forward to. So Jerry wins round 2 with a Jackaro, which is how low the bar is. So Jerry's winning. I mean, there's only one round left. If Bob or Brent hit it out of the ballpark and just absolutely deliver, then I think they can maybe steal the victory away. But it looks like it's Jerry's in round 1. We get a masterpiece for Bob. Absolutely love this. A cover of Dylan's When I Paint My Masterpiece. Great choice. Jerry follows with the Road Jimmy. And when the Road Jimmy starts, I'm immediately like, okay, this is not what the energy of this show needed at this point. But then 2 minutes into it, I'm like, oh, I love Road Jimmy. I love this Road Jimmy. Jerry's bringing it performance-wise. I love the ending jam. I'm won over on the Road Jimmy. And then we get a blowaway to close out the disc and the set. I believe this was the actual first set closer of the show. Not a fan of blowaway. Don't like the synth sounds. That moment when Brent goes, wait a minute, and they're supposed to stop, they skid to a stop. Like the brakes are apparently not working because it takes a while before silence gets in. I don't like his whole ending thing. Your rib cage is like a jail cell, and you got to rip your heart out. And he cusses for no reason. Jerry does drop a nice, like, aggressive solo at the end, but I've never been a big blowaway fan. So Jerry wins this one too. The Road Jimmy takes it. So Jerry, you won the first disc. You won round 1. And pretty much from there on out, we just kind of abandoned going back and forth because Jerry takes a couple songs back to back on the next disc. But disc 2 is the entire set 2 from, I believe it is forgot what show it is, but it's one of the shows, the 24th. And it is what they played pre-drums on the 24th. And then you get the remainder of that on disc 3. Opens up with Playing in the Band. Solid 90, 10-minute version of Playing in the Band. We hit that jam section. You just get 7 minutes of Jerry just jamming the band. It's almost like a 7-minute, it's not really a roller coaster ride because roller coasters, you're on a track. It's almost like one of those water rides where you're in an inner tube. And yeah, you're pretty much going in this direction, but what wall you hit and how wet people get and how fast you spin kind of depends on each given ride. That's what these playing jams feel like. Soon as we're into the jam, we're off, we're going forward. There's always momentum. Things are flying all over the place, but it's a pretty straightforward Playing in the Band jam. Very tasty. Not too many MIDI sounds. We're not oversaturated on the MIDI-ness of it all, but a pretty good, nice, fluid jam. Pretty nice segue into Uncle John's band. Jerry is feeling this Uncle John band. That jam between the second verse and the third verse is super long. Jerry's going off. It's really tasty. Absolutely love it. We go back into the song. The ending sort of that weird psych 2/3 of the way jam is pretty cool. It's loose, but it's at the same time they're sticking to the vamp, but at the same time there's a lot of like give and take in the way they play it. Really good energy. They wrap up with those final vocals and almost immediately drop into a Terrapin Station. For some reason, they've indexed it Lady with the Fan and Terrapin Station on here instead of just Terrapin Station. Lady with the Fan is beautiful. They hit all the transitions. The build into the inspiration part is nice. When we go into Terrapin Station and we get the inspiration, it's a little like Jerry's not quite delivering the inspiration vocally as well as you wish, but it's a good Terrapin Station. The jam ending is great. This is another thing where I think all the weird sounds they have and the MIDI-ness works really well as that Terrapin Station jam goes on and on and on at the end with the do-do-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun, all that stuff. I like all the different textures that they bring in. And then after that, they go into a really healthy, really nice, fully committed mind left body jam. It's called Mud Love Body for some reason. This is a song off Paul Kantner's Baron von Tolbooth album, one of his solo albums. And this is a jam based on a riff in there. An absolutely amazing jam. The riff is crazy. This is beautiful. Jerry plays pretty, like sticks with the Mind Left Body jam for like the entire, I think it's like about 7 or 8 minutes long. The entire thing, we're just committed to that vamp. It gets crazier, it gets psychier, more and more elements get in, then we kind of simplify it towards the end. Beautiful, beautiful Mind Left Body jam. That goes into drums. A fantastic drums. A lot of electronics, a lot of noises, a lot of silence. They bring it down and you can just, like, the audience is quiet. They're rapt. This is a fantastic drums. That goes into a very MIDI, funky space. Get a little pastoral part at the end, and then disc 2 ends. Disc 3 picks up with the end of space from the same show. We get a wheel, really nice patient build up out of space before we drop into the first vocals. We get a watchtower. Jerry goes off between the first and second verse, goes off between the second and third, goes off at the end. This is a full-on let Jerry do his thing watchtower. We get a Stella Blue, really nice Stella Blue, nice, calm, quietly building solo at the end to tap into that emotion. We get a Not Fade Away. Jerry again is kind of bringing it, elevating the energy. This is like a 10-minute track. Half of it is the ending. No, our love will not fade away. And then the song ends pretty much at the 7-minute mark. And the last 3 minutes is the audience singing the Not Fade Away as they would do until the band came back on for the encore. And then the encore is lay down, my dear brother. We get a nice and we bid you good night. Good night. And that's not the end of the disc, even though that is the end of this show, because then we essentially get another post-space segment from a different show. The first part's from the 24th, the last part's from the 25th. We get a little snippet of space. That goes into I Will Take You Home. Jerry's got a nice little MIDI solo in the beginning that almost sounds like some sort of low-noted like brass instrument or woodwind instrument, and it's a really nice lead up into the song. I don't like this song. I just don't think it works within the Dead sort of world building vibe. I feel sorry for Midland. He tried, but I don't know. This song I've never been won over by, though I do like Jerry's playing, and I think Brett delivers vocally. The last times he sings I Will Take You Home at the end, he does this, I will, and he really stretches out that will, I mean, in a way that's impressive, and it's a good vocal performance. I just don't like the song. Then we get it Going Down the Road Feeling Bad, GDTFRB, GDTRFB. Excellent energy. Jerry's solo is fantastic. The build in the end is it kind of just repeats the same thing, and build is perfect. That drops into a Black Peter. Another great Black Peter. This is one of those songs in this era where as the song goes on, all the different textures and vibes and feelings and like just all the different instruments like really flesh out just the sonic palette. And I just really like that sort of, I like listening to the Black Peter. I think it sounds really good. Bob's got some really nice rhythm stuff. Jerry's got a nice intense solo. Then we get in Around and Around that pretty much the highlight of this is Bob just doing his really like, his weird stop and start vocal thing where, I don't know. And then we get a Broke Down Palace for your encore, a song I probably saw way too much back in the day, but this one sounds good. This one sounds big. There's some really, really good energy in this Broke Down Palace. So it's an interesting listen. I really think the first disc is pretty rough. The Duprees is the highlight. It's nice to hear the Road Jimmy Masterpiece, but neither of those are essential. I mean, the first disc is almost kind of just a waste. Second disc is really the strongest stuff with the Playing, Uncle John's, Terrapin. The Mind Left Body Jam is fantastic. But then the third disc, some really good songs. I mean, stuff I haven't heard in a while because I've been like submerged in 73 for a while. But I can't say any of the performances are like mind-blowing. Jerry's bringing it with his guitar solos. The band's doing what the band did in this era. But as far as like must-hear stuff, I don't know. There are complete versions. Like one of these shows was completely released, and there's like a Spring '90 box set, and one of these shows is in its entirety in there. I think those things are probably preferred at this point to the like what they. There was like a Help Slip Franklin's that opened one of the shows. Why didn't you pick that and put that in there? And there were some other choices. I'm like, why don't you put that song in there. So choices were made, and I can't say I agree with all of them. But where would I rank this among all the others that I've done from 90? I have it at the bottom. I have it down at number 7. Still better than that Dick's Picks, which I think is my least favorite Dick's Picks, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a little bit better than that, just because disc 2 on here I think is really strong. And I love playing in the band, so I will take every single playing in the band. But yeah, that's where I have it. It's one of those shows that when it came out in 96, it was really, really cool to have. We were not yet into this fully archival, like I said, release everything thing. But I think in this day and age, it's more of a relic of a Grateful Dead time past. So yeah, so that's where I have it at number 7. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this release, the Grateful Dead 90, all that kind of stuff. If you've ever been dozing at the Knick, or as we like to say, dosing at the Knick. But yeah, all right, I'm rambling. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and peace. Talk to you later.